This is Coach's Corner, NBA Futures Prospect Talk, and we're here to talk a little Jalen Suggs and Evan Mobley, two certified top 5 picks. Of course, the aforementioned Jalen Green, Cade Cunningham, and Jonathan Kuminga all being consistent top 5 picks. And I don't think you're going to have any trouble drafting in the top 5 one of these kids. Look like future pros, future NBA starters. I want to talk a little bit about Evan Mobley first. The USC freshman was named Pac-12 Player of the Year, Freshman of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year. He puts himself in some pretty honorable mentions as far as you think of Anthony Davis as somebody that won this award before, DeAndre Ayton. He averaged 16 points, 9 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 blocks, and a steal. He is a defensive force, and he's got USC to a 21-6 record, best that they've done in quite some time. And we know Onyeka Okongwu came out of USC last year, but their record was nothing close to this. So this guy makes an impact on both ends. And Coach Coleman, welcome to the show. I'm Coach Lewis. He represents California, so he's seen this kid play and develop over time. And I want to get his take first on the big man coming out of USC.
Yeah, I love Mobley. I've kind of fallen in love with his game recently this year. I mean, he's got USC playing great. I think you'll see this, and you're going to see some of his highlights here. He can post up. He's a big guy. He's agile enough, and he fits kind of the NBA bigs, what we're looking for. So we're looking for a guy that can pass, can kind of separate. He's got pretty good ball skills. Okay, he's good enough to get by on guys. You'll see him here. I mean, pick and roll game is pretty much what the NBA is now, and he's going to be that guy that it can really separate himself. He's athletic. He's got size, and his length is kind of what sets him apart. He's a really good rebounder. You'll see here, he's actually not a bad ball handler. And we'll just his passing ability kind of separates him from some big guys that we see. And he's not that dominant, just I'm going to go down to the block, but he can do that as well. And you'll see here, he's got some nice touch. Okay. And look at that hook shot. If he can get that consistently, I think it's hard to stop him. And you'll see this too. His 3-point, it's interesting because everybody's got to shoot threes right now, Coach, right? Okay. Everybody's shooting threes out here. Our guy, Bob Ryan from Boston, he hates threes, but that's all right. So when you look at him, I mean, his 3-point percentage is 29%. Not great, but not bad. Like when you look at what he's probably going to be able to do. And because he does have that kind of little bit of, 3-point ability, defense has got to come out at him, and then he can blow by him with his athleticism. But I love his passing. That's one of those things that I really, when you watch him play, he really separates himself there. He's a good rebounder, as you said. He's almost averaging about 9 rebounds a game. His blocks, his defensive ability, I just love what he can do. Somebody compared him recently. I was looking at a draft site. They were talking about him as being the next Chris Bosh. And that's a pretty good comparison. I hate comparisons, but when you're looking at Mobley, what he can do, his size, it does represent that. He's only, he needs to get a little bit more. He got to get some weight on him. So, 215-ish. You want to see him kind of bump up his size a little bit more. But I love his reflexes. I love his handle. And the thing that as a coach I love is his high IQ. And he's got that. And he can play anywhere. I think I would probably put him as the second or third best player in this draft. And that's kind of high praises for him. But I could see a team falling in love with him and maybe reaching a little bit in the first pick because that's how good he is.
I could see that too. I could see a team based on need, falling in love with a kid that can really shut down the interior. We see how much of an impact Rudy Gobert has defensively. And this guy, I know he's not 7'3" or however tall Gobert is, but you can see that length. He's got a 7'5" wingspan, and he has great anticipation, which shows his defensive IQ. His offensive IQ is impressive as well. As you mentioned, his ability to pass off the dribble. His anticipation on rebounds are very impressive, both on the offensive rebounding glass and defensively. He can come in there and sneak and get a dunk on somebody. I like that little baby hook that he has. It shows nice touch. He finishes really high. And him already being 7 foot tall and a 7'5" wingspan, that's almost an unguardable shot. And he is, to me, the jump stop king. He gets in his jump stop and he pumps and he figures out angles to be effective in scoring. He's a little thinner in frame, so using that length helps him. He's a great rim running big. After the pick, he shoots to the lane so fast, and you know how valuable that is in the NBA game. But yeah, his defensive ability can lead him to go. One, the shot, as we saw it, like I know we watch highlights, it looks pure, but if he's wide open, he can make that shot. I don't think he's like a 3-point threat, but just being able to make it wide open and knowing his valuable aspect as far as defense on the other end is huge. He's got a drifting, long-legged drive off the dribble. When he gets it, it looks a little weird. I know you said you're not big on comparisons, but we all make them. We're all going to make them. I think he looks like his body looks a little bit like KG. He doesn't play with any of the ferocity and aggression that he does. And I think that's one of the cues that people have is, does he have a high motor? These other top 5 picks, it's like, they all have the look. Like, they want it. They look like a great leader. He's the leader of USC, but it's something that you really have to look into on a heavy level and base it on his game. Similar to like a little bit of Anthony Davis in that, like, you don't really question his motor, but it's like, it looks like because they're so athletically gifted. Are they being casual with this? But he's impressive. I think he has a higher draft rating than Wiseman did last year. I think he would have gone above James Wiseman. So I think that there's a team in the top 5 that definitely can fall in love with this kid, and he has a possibility to go number 1. I mean, I don't think he's number 1 on either one of our boards.
No.
But he is an intriguing pick and has a very, very bright future. Let's see what they do in the tournament and shooting. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, as a coach, and we're always looking at this from a coach's perspective, timing on shot blocking and rebounding are 2 things you can't teach. It is almost impossible sometimes. To be honest, a kid either has it or they don't. You can do rebounding drills and you can kind of teach them how to do it, but that's instinctive, and he has those. And he already has 3 blocks a game. So from me, when I'm looking at him from a perspective, he's well-rounded in that area. I love that he showed that rapid improvement. And I get what you're saying about his tenacity. Does he have it? Some guys, they're so damn athletically gifted and they're so just kind of out there. What they produce on the court, you're like, hey, where is that? Where is that? And but they do it. They just do it in their own way. I've coached athletes like that, and they're frustrating as heck. But you'll see him in tapes and films and watch him in games. He does get fired up. It's not like he's out here just – he's not like Andrew Wiggins, okay? He's not just that. Like, he's got that extra effort, and it looks like he does love basketball. So I like that about him. I will just say his biggest concern for me is his frame. And I don't know if his frame is going to allow him to put on too much more weight. I think he's going to be more of a finesse guy than a power guy. But he does, even though he's finesse, he does present himself to be a pretty aggressive player, especially on rebounding tips, going up and dunking and getting the ball in right spots, being aggressive. So I like that about him. And so those are my high points about him. But I do worry about that frame, especially in the NBA. But because the NBA is transitioning so much to just threes and getting everybody out of the way, and that, I think that he's the type of player right now is perfect for the game.
And I'd agree with you. He has been more aggressive as the season's gone on. Yeah. He's taken that team on his shoulder, and he does show a winning brand of basketball. One with USC playing, but even his previous successes in high school, and I've seen him play against Mikey Williams and some top people. And he always holds his own. And he steps up to the competition. He never seems like he's getting outmatched or bullied. So high promise and a high ceiling for Evan Mobley that I think that is pretty raw as far as his offensive skills. He doesn't have too many moves. He's got the little spin move off the drift dribble, but he relies on his pump fakes and his hop step, which is good, especially when you're really, really long around the rim and you can kind of go underneath the basket, this side, left side, right side. So I like him, and we're going to go from one guy that I like to a guy that is setting college basketball on fire. This is none other than Mr. Basketball and Mr. Football out of Minnesota. He's got scholarships to Notre Dame, Ohio State. He turned that down because this guy is a certified top 5 NBA draft pick, and that's Jalen Suggs. I love me some Jalen Swaggy Suggs. You see his stats: 14 a game, 5.5 rebounds, 4.5 assists. He produces offensively in every single category. He has great anticipation defensively. He averages 2 steals a game. He's long. Like I said, he's got the swag. He is a true leader. He's got Showtime leadership. He creates offense and scoring opportunities for himself, for others. He is a little Lonzo-esque in the fast break. He gets it and he moves it. He'll move it real quick, or he'll take it all the way down and make the right play. I like him. He gets a little sporadic. He's a little quick, triggered, but I think it's going to help him in the league. That is one of the questions, though. He shoots around 35% from the three-point line. You would like those numbers to increase, but he just has a sweet, smooth stroke. He can pull a little step back. He really gets separation off of a ball screen, and he shoots it immediately. If you go under, he's going to make you pay. He can finish around the rim. He's a freshman on an undefeated 26-0 Gonzaga team that is by far the favorites to win this NCAA tournament, and he's got them clicking on all cylinders. And to lead a team like that as a freshman is super duper impressive. Coach, what's your take on our boy Jalen Suggs?
Yeah, I'm not as high on Suggs as maybe you or some other guys. I watched him. I like him. I think that he can be a very solid player. But I like, when I look at guys like this in the top 5, I want a high ceiling guy. I don't know if he's that high ceiling guy. Now, he's playing great. He's got Gonzaga playing very good. I think one thing that you got to worry about with him, and maybe not worry about, but with Gonzaga guys, they're not playing the best competition. Pepperdine, Pacific, BYU, these guys out here, they don't have that. But I do love he plays hard. So I know that you're going to be high on him because of the way he plays. When you watch him play, the dude, he's got a motor. And the one game that I was looking at, and I wanted to see kind of how this went, is against Virginia. And Virginia is always one of the best defensive play teams, the pack line defense, everything they do. And, he had 8 points that game and 6 assists, 7 rebounds. If you looked at that game from just a stats perspective, the points was, you wouldn't say like, oh, he didn't do that good. But if you watch that game, he can make impacts on other parts of the game without actually scoring. And I think that sometimes sets apart young prospects. And so, I actually liked that game for him. I'm not going against them. They played a great defensive scheme, but he didn't rush it as a freshman. So to me, that shows some pretty good basketball IQ. I like him. I think he's a good defensive player. I think he's actually underrated defensively, and he's a very good off-ball defender. He gets in there. He gets his tips, like we always talk about. He's got his steals. I would like to see him shoot a little bit better from 3. I think scoring is going to be his biggest Achilles heel. Can he consistently score at the next level in the NBA? That's why I worry about maybe his pro prospects a little bit more than these other guys, because I think these other guys can score. I think he'll be a different type of player, which is fine. But I don't necessarily know if he's got the scoring ability to kind of consistently be a top guy in the NBA.
I think he's a starting point guard. I think we can both agree that we have Cade Cunningham rated higher than him, playing the same position. Would you agree? You got Cade Cunningham higher on your board?
Yeah. I think yes.
Yeah. So, but I love what you mentioned, that it's the scoring might not be the thing that stands out, but he does everything else. He rebounds just at elite level. He can really get up there. He loves calling for a lob. It's funny. He's got a little bit some similarities to Jalen Green offensively. But I've seen him compared to Jason Kidd, probably because of his defensive prowess and his ability to kind of run in transition. He's infectious, though. He has a certain positivity that he brings, a certain passion and love to the game. He's got that Mr. Quarterback. All-state. So he definitely has vision. He can throw it full court. The game that impressed me just happened in the conference championship game, and they were in their first down the crunch game. They've won every game by double digits, and they were down 5 minutes left in the second half, and they got a 1-point lead. Jalen Suggs makes 2 dirty 3-pointers to give him a 7-point lead with just, I think, 2.5 minutes remaining, and almost put the game away. You could feel it just sank on St. Mary's. And of course, that's their big rival. But for him to step up in the clutch like that, I was impressed. The other one was Kansas at the beginning of the season. They have played Kansas. They played Iowa with Garza. Like, they've played their non-conference schedule. They have played some teams. You mentioned Virginia. But he plays well in all those. I know he only had 8 against Virginia. But Kansas, in the first half, he had 5 threes. Like, he totally smacked Kansas. And to play like that as a freshman, I'm super impressed with this kid. He reminds me a little bit of like De'Aaron Fox, just as far as like he is a good starting point guard. I know that's your boy.
De'Aaron Fox is way better. Come on, coach. Don't be doing that to my
defensive ability, steals. Of course, no one's as fast as De'Aaron Fox in the world, but this kid moves. Fox isn't the greatest of like creating his own shot. It's developed now that he's in his 3rd year. And I think that Jalen, because he loves the game so much, you'll see him spending more time in his basketball development and he'll grow. I
will not allow the De'Aaron Fox slander on this show. Okay. No, but I will say this. I want to throw out a comp real quick for your guy, Suggs. What about like a bigger Chauncey Billups? Just probably a more better creator. But as far as the player-wise, I like the idea of having like a bigger Chauncey.
I would hope that he could get Finals MVP level, that type of greatness that Chauncey has. Chauncey's a tough guy to compare to because of his ups and downs, and he got moved around, shipped around at the beginning of his career. But he's known for his clutch time gene. And if you have that, you got a place in the NBA. My thing is he's a starting point guard. I wouldn't say he's a superstar. I don't think actually any of these top 5 guys are going to change the league. They're not. I don't think we have a LeBron here. I don't think we have a Kobe. I don't think we have a Tim Duncan. But I think we have certified starters and potential all-stars in this top 5. So to preview the top 5, we're going to talk a little Jalen Green and Cade Cunningham, who we would take next. Coach Coleman has an inside look on Jalen as he's coached against him and has seen him grown. One thing that stands out about all these guys in the top 5, they all have Team USA experience, and that's going to bode well. That always helps early development, and you see growth in their game. So if you like our prospect talks, I want you to continue checking into our Coaches Corner. We're going to be dropping more. Anybody else you want to hear us talk about? Again, we are very excited about this top 5 draft, and with March Madness right around the corner, we're going to see other prospects that we're going to need to talk about. But pencil me in. I'm a Jalen Suggs believer. A little bit more than Coach Coleman. He's probably higher on Evan Mobley than I am. But I would take a gamble at if I got a certified point guard up there drafting in the top 5. So that's all we had from Coach's Corner. Please check us out. Subscribe to our channel. Salute, Coach Coleman.
See you guys.